They built a 92-foot stage on the south lawn of the White House. They put a UFC octagon on it. They filled 4,000 seats with the most powerful people in America. And on June 14th, 2026, they delivered one of the most historic nights in combat sports history. UFC Freedom 250 is over. The results are in. And tonight, we break down every single fight, every finish, every moment, and what it all means for the future of MMA. This is the full UFC Freedom 250 breakdown. Let's go. Before we get into the fights, let us appreciate what this actually was. The UFC has held events in Las Vegas, in Abu Dhabi, in Brazil, in New Zealand. But nothing compares to putting a fight card on the south lawn of the White House. Dana White announced this event last August after meeting with President Trump at the White House. For months, people thought it was a stunt, a headline grab, something that would never actually happen. And then on June 14th, 2026, it happened. The stage structure alone was 92 feet tall. The UFC brought in production equipment that would put most music festivals to shame. 4,000 seats, invitation only, filled with politicians, celebrities, military personnel, and the most hardcore MMA fans in the country. No pay-per-view, Paramount Plus only. Potentially the largest UFC audience in history tuned in. This was not just a fight card. This was a statement that the UFC has arrived at the absolute pinnacle of American sport. And the fights, they matched the moment. Opening the main card, featherweights Diego Lopes versus Steve Garcia. Lopes came into this fight as one of the most dangerous men in the featherweight division. Fast hands, heavy pressure, relentless forward movement. He has been knocking on the door of a title shot for the better part of a year. Garcia is a tough, resilient fighter who has quietly put together an impressive win streak. He came into this fight with an 8-fight win streak and genuine belief that a win over Lopes would put him in the title picture. This fight was exactly what you wanted to open a historic card. Back and forth action, both men landing significant shots, the crowd at the White House going absolutely wild. The result set the tone for the entire night. And Garcia, walking away with the win, immediately called for a title shot, claiming his 8-fight streak earns him that right. What a way to open UFC Freedom 250. Bo Nickal, the undefeated Penn State wrestling prodigy. The man who has been the most talked-about prospect in UFC middleweight for the past 2 years. Against Kyle Daukaus, a tough, experienced middleweight who has been in the octagon with some of the best in the division. Nickal came into this fight with one goal: prove he belongs at this level. Prove that his wrestling is elite enough to translate to championship-level MMA. Prove that he is not just a prospect, but a contender. His wrestling remains absolutely elite, but what has improved significantly is his striking. His hands are sharper. His combinations are cleaner. He is becoming a complete fighter. Against Daukaus, Nickal's physical advantages were clear from the opening bell. Faster, stronger, more explosive. The undefeated record stays intact. And Nickal's path to a title shot gets shorter with every performance. Now we are getting to the fights that the hardcore fans came to see. Mauricio Ruffy versus Michael Chandler at lightweight, two of the most exciting finishers in the division. Two men who have never, not once, delivered a boring fight. Chandler at the White House, let that sink in. A man who has given us some of the most incredible moments in recent UFC history, fighting at the most famous address in the world. Ruffy is a Brazilian knockout artist who has been on a tear through the lightweight division. He stopped Fiziev earlier this year. He is young, dangerous, and motivated. Chandler is 37 years old. He has been in wars with Oliveira, Gaethje, McGregor, Pimblett. Every single one of those fights was memorable. Every single one showed a man who fights with his whole heart. The crowd at the White House was electric for this one. This fight delivered exactly what everyone expected, action from the first second to the last. Whatever the result, this fight will be remembered, because Chandler fights always are Josh Hockett, the story of the year, college football walk-on who did not even have a scholarship. Decided to try MMA, worked his way through the regional circuit, made it to the UFC, and now at UFC Freedom 250, he is fighting Derek Lewis at the White House. His story is so good that it almost does not seem real. Derek Lewis, the Black Beast, is one of the most dangerous heavyweight punchers in the history of the UFC. 14 knockouts. A genuine one-punch nightmare for anyone who stands in front of him. Hockett came in talking. He trash-talked Lewis all camp. He said he would shut him up in the octagon. He said Lewis was past his prime. He said he was the future of the heavyweight division. Lewis said he would stop Hockett in the first round. This fight at the White House in front of 4,000 people with the president watching was exactly the kind of moment that makes the UFC special. Suga Sean O'Malley at the White House. Living his absolute best life, O'Malley came into this fight as a massive -440 favorite over Ayman Zahabi. On paper, this looked like a showcase fight for one of the UFC's most marketable stars. Zahabi is a capable bantamweight, technically sound, well-trained, no major weaknesses. But O'Malley at his best is simply on a different level. O'Malley's striking is genuinely elite. His footwork, his angles, his ability to create distance and land clean shots, it is different from anyone else in the bantamweight division. He also has the ability to make things look spectacular when he is feeling it. A spinning technique, a perfectly timed counter, the kind of highlight that gets 10 million views by morning. At the White House, O'Malley delivered exactly what the crowd wanted. And the post-fight interview, vintage Suga. Here is where the night shifted from great to historic. Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane for the interim UFC Heavyweight Championship. And the prize on the line for Pereira. The chance to become the only fighter in UFC history to hold titles in 3 different weight classes. Pereira came up from light heavyweight, vacating his 205-pound belt to pursue this record. He has beaten everyone put in front of him. Middleweight champion, light heavyweight champion, and now chasing heavyweight gold. Gane is not a soft touch. The French heavyweight is a technical elite striker with excellent footwork for a big man. He has beaten the best in the division. He is the #1 ranked heavyweight contender. The odds were almost exactly even, and the crowd at the White House was split down the middle. What happened in that octagon will be talked about for years. Pereira, fighting up in weight, taking on a top contender with history on the line, showed why he is the most exciting heavyweight in MMA right now. The result, Alex Pereira wins the interim UFC Heavyweight Championship. He is now a 3-division champion, the first in UFC history to achieve this at heavyweight. The post-fight celebration at the White House lawn was unlike anything the UFC has seen. The crowd erupted. Pereira, belt in hand under the spotlights with the White House behind him. One of the greatest images in combat sports history. And then the main event, Ilia Topuria, 17-0, undefeated, the lightweight champion, a man who has knocked out 3 consecutive former champions. Georgian-born, Spain-raised, fighting at the biggest event in UFC history. Justin Gaethje, 27-5, the highlight, a man who has been in some of the most incredible fights in modern UFC history, the interim champion, fighting potentially for the last time. Topuria promised a first-round knockout. He has made that promise before. He always delivers. Gaethje promised to take Topuria's 0. He vowed in the final face-off that he would be the one to end the undefeated record. The walkouts at the White House were unlike anything. The music, the lights, the crowd, the President of the United States sitting octagon-side, and then the bell rang. Topuria remained undefeated. His record extends to 18-0. His reign as lightweight champion continues. Gaethje, in defeat, showed once again why he is one of the most beloved fighters in MMA history. Heart of a lion, toughest chin in the division. He pushed Topuria in ways that other opponents have not. The post-fight moment at the White House, Topuria with the belt under the spotlights. With 4,000 people cheering and the iconic building behind him, will be in highlight reels for the next 50 years. The morning after UFC Freedom 250, the MMA world is asking one question: what happens next? Topuria stays at lightweight. He is the pound-for-pound king. Who challenges him next? Islam Makhachev has publicly stated he accepted a fight against Topuria and was passed over. That fight, if it happens, is the biggest matchup in the lightweight division in years. Pereira, the new 3-division champion, has already said he is not waiting for Tom Aspinall. He wants the undisputed heavyweight belt. Aspinall is recovering from eye surgery. The timeline is uncertain. Does the UFC make Pereira the undisputed champ in the meantime, And looming over everything, UFC 329, McGregor versus Holloway, July 11th, Las Vegas. The UFC just delivered the most historic card in its history. And in 4 weeks, they do it all over again. Tell me in the comments, what was your moment of the night? Subscribe and hit the bell. The UFC 329 breakdown drops this week.